Hey guys, welcome back. Drip Coach here with Drip and Farm for Poppy, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate with integrity and transparency. Today, another recap on the Jack Mahler's Mailbag Mondays. I like, again, revisiting the short clip that his team puts together because it kind of highlights the most important piece of the full 1 hour rant, as he calls it. And I already covered this, but this is now on the heels of the recent update for, it's not Crypto Week, I forgot what they called this, but they had the additional developments for the White House crypto policy come out this week. So I want to circle back to what Jack was saying, and then we can revisit how the markets and stuff have reacted to this.
It's a stablecoin bill. Beautiful crypto week, the best crypto week that's ever happened in Washington. So the Genius Act has nothing to do with Bitcoin directly. Indirectly, holistically, I think it has a lot to do.
Today marks a seminal moment for digital assets and global dollar dominance.
Boring. Whew, man. Basant just put me to sleep there. Here's what I think matters for us Bitcoiners. We know that the US cannot raise rates and they cannot cut spending. So we are trapped. The next logical step is we then need to devalue the dollar. It's the only way out. And that's what I've been saying on this show over and over and over and over again. We have to print. However,
and that's actually a good segue into what we just got back from Powell. So Powell came in and gave this FOMC meeting, and basically, and I already showed you guys a clip from Cryptos R Us saying this as well, but Federal Reserve was leaving interest rates unchanged, which mostly the market had already assumed, but there have been obviously a lot of talks, Besant and Trump and all of them trying to pressure him into cutting rates, but basically Powell stood his ground, and that's just what Jack just said. It's like they're not cutting rates, and the only other option is to print in order to get out of this, but they're not printing in the traditional sense of cutting rates. So now we have to look at, where is this print coming from? What is the natural way to debase this and essentially get others to buy our debt? And that's where this next piece comes in.
debase the dollar against what? I tell you what's a really bad idea. Do not debase the dollar against housing. Bad idea. Because if housing starts to rip 60% year over year, that's bad. A lot of people are going to be really pissed because they don't want to be homeless. Here's another one. Don't debase the dollar against eggs. Bad idea. Good idea, my recommendation, debase it against Bitcoin and gold. That's the stablecoin idea. Are you guys following me now? Put it to you this way. The United States sends Bitcoin to $500,000 a coin. When Bitcoin grows, Tether has to grow. That's 5x from here. Stablecoins then have to 5x in growth. That's 5 times the amount of demand for US debt. China doesn't want your debt. Civilians don't want your debt. Russia doesn't want your debt. Banks don't want your debt. Hedge funds don't want your debt. Who's the buyer of last resort? The Fed. The question is this: has the Fed and the US government ever gotten married before? The last time the Fed and the government got married, the US government and the Fed got married to help finance around the world wars. And the Fed's balance sheet grew 10 times. Look at this chart. 10 times.
I'm going to pause there real quick because, like you just mentioned, nobody wants to buy our debt. However, with this stablecoin bill, and now you see more and more Bitcoin Treasury companies. So let me rewind that. You got Bitcoin Treasury companies like Jack, 21 Strategy, the one that Pomp's doing, and I think like a dozen others. They're stacking Bitcoin. So they're using dollars to buy Bitcoin. Then the yield that they're earning off of the Bitcoin, they're leveraging or getting additional loans to buy more Bitcoin, but they also are using some of these, like Tether, use the treasury bills, bonds, to actually loan out money so that people can borrow against their Bitcoin. So you're loading one side of your balance sheet with Bitcoin, and then you are buying T-bills with the other side, so that you have now a marketplace for the local consumer. So like you mentioned, Russia doesn't want it. China doesn't want it. India doesn't want it. Nobody wants our debt. We have gotten to the place where all we can do is just print. And as a shitty company being run into the dirt, it's like, yeah, we're not earning more than we spend. We just keep spending. So it's like, well, we need someone else to help offset that imbalance. And the segue I wanted to bring in is that other people in these countries do want dollars. So I'm out here in South America, in Colombia, and that's next door neighbor is Venezuela. Their economy is still shit. I told you guys about that. There are people still coming here now, years after the initial collapse, and it's starting to settle down. It's still very volatile there. Don't get me wrong. It's still bad, but they're still coming here. And in Venezuela, they want dollars. They want US dollars. And it's so bad that the black market rate for dollars is 3 to 5x more than the government rate. What's actually happening is that the government is confiscating dollars if they can get their hands on them, because that is a more stable currency in their environment than their current Venezuelan, I don't know what that is, a peso, or I don't know what the actual equivalent is, but whatever their currency is very unstable. And that's just one example. There are other countries all over the world that have very unstable currencies and economies, and they look for something more stable. That more stable, ironically, for them is the dollar. We may be sitting in the US looking at the dollar going, it's going to shit, this sucks, inflation, everything's getting more expensive, but it can always get worse. And all you need to do is zoom out and look at other countries going through this right now, i.e. Venezuela. So this piggybacks on Jack's statement that none of the central banks at these other countries want the debt, but the locals will definitely buy it. And even here, another caveat is a lot of people have clear cell phone cases, and in the case on the back of it, so you can see through it, they have basically what would you call that? Not counterfeit, but what the hell is the name of that word? I guess you would call it novelty. So they have for like a status symbol. So it's quite common to have like $20, $50, $100 novelty notes in the back of their phone to just show off or whatever. So again, it just goes to show that the dollar still carries weight at the base level in other economies that are behind the US economy, put it that way.
And it grew largely in, drumroll please, T-bills, the things that stablecoins buy. We cannot have debt to GDP at 130%. That number's got to come down. It comes down by printing money, by debasing the dollar. You can debase the dollar against gold, against Bitcoin. I'm telling you, this is it. I'm telling you, I feel it in my bones. I really do. The president and his family just bought $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. Next, Trump opens US retirement market to crypto investments. How do you debase the dollar and get reelected? Put Bitcoin and gold in everyone's retirement account and send that shit. And by sending that shit, I don't mean Bitcoin to $1 million. I mean the dollar to fucking zero.
That's another key point right there that he just kind of glossed over. I mentioned this as well. Remember that in the US, we're pretty much just an every 4-year political, do whatever it takes to get elected kind of country. So right now, Trump is definitely pushing the envelope, rocking the boat, doing whatever he can to see how far he can leverage things before they break, basically. So we're still in his first year right now. But like he said, how do you get reelected? And the way to do that is, basically debase the dollar and put Bitcoin in people's portfolios without them knowing about it. And we're already seeing that happen. Like, I think BlackRock and someone else has a large, JP Morgan, I think it was, has a large portion. Like, they don't buy, or JP Morgan maybe it was, but I don't remember. But the point being is that they're not buying Bitcoin directly, but by having exposure to the S&P 500 and to strategy, they have this in their portfolios. It is now being offered to retirement funds, 401k plans, things like that. So it's already secretly being absorbed into the greater economy and the retirement funds, just by the nature of others that understand it more and putting it on their balance sheet, like Strategy and others now with Treasury companies and all that stuff. And then now with what Jack's talking about, the president's like, yo, let's just go ahead and open it up for retirement funds in general.
Do you want to know the community of humans that aren't mad when the dollar gets debased? Us. I've said on the show, debase the dollar all you want, print all you want. I don't care because I own Bitcoin. That's the point. President Trump is committed to restoring prosperity for everyday Americans and safeguarding their economic future. Safeguarding their economic future is dumping stocks, dumping bonds, buying gold, and buying Bitcoin. We made it. It's that Drake song. We made it. Crazy. The president is saying, I need to protect your financial future. Let me get you some Bitcoin. Guys, and there's bearish people out there that think this thing has no intrinsic value and is not gonna be part of our future. Do you guys read anything on the internet? The whole Genius Act thing? Stablecoins are the new way to finance a government, but they grow as Bitcoin grows. One way to grow stablecoins is to grow Bitcoin. One way to debase the dollar is to grow Bitcoin. One way to get out of the post-World War monetary regime change is to grow Bitcoin. One way to solve the Fed and the Treasury's problem of getting remarried is to grow Bitcoin. It could not be more obvious.
Boom, mic drop. So yeah, like I said, I mentioned this before, pulled up his the hour-long podcast and we dissected it, but it's just, I want to show it again because I feel like people are, they're sleeping on this cycle right now because it is not as blow off top euphoria excitement as the previous. And it's because, in my humble opinion, and by no means am I the guru, but I believe the game has changed due to what's happening at the institutional and legislative levels. And it's not priced in. There's another clip from Samson Mao where he's talking about still this cycle. He sees 250 to 500K. And I've talked to a lot of people in my chats and stuff like that, and they don't think so. So they're looking at the diminishing returns and looking at how it's stunted right now. And I just don't think that people are understanding what's being done behind the scenes. So either way, we know the price is up and to the right, but I don't think people are prepared for this as much as they should. They're waiting for this buy the dip opportunity. And again, I just do not think there's going to be a dip like we've seen in the past. The upside is getting less volatile. The downside is less volatile. 80% drawdowns in previous bear markets, then 70 and then 60. So this time maybe 50. And all it takes for us to see these levels again is Bitcoin to 250 right now. And then you're sitting at 125K. And that's your bear market. And you might be seeing it go from 250 to 125, 130. You're like, oh, great, this is it. It's coming. I'm going to wait till it drops some more, pick some up at sub 100, and it might just take right back off. So I believe the only solution is just to stay humble, stack sats, DCA, whatever your time frame is, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, and never sell your Bitcoin. Like, it's a really simple playbook, but don't sleep on this bull run. Pay attention to the writing on the wall, especially the stuff that like Jack is dropping that's coming in the news from the people that are able to push the buttons and move the chess pieces, because that's what's driving the market at this stage and will continue going forward, in my humble opinion. All right, smash that HBO special, help a brother out, like, subscribe, comment down below, and until next time, lift daily and achieve your possible. See ya.